So for this lesson, we're going to go over Erikson's psychosocial theory. Erikson believed that throughout several developmental stages in life, people were faced with what he called a psychosocial crisis. Each of these crises were a disruption between personal impulses and sort of what society wants us to do. This is similar to Freud's idea of the id, ego, and superego. The id is our personal sort of base impulses. It's concerned with what we want. What people think is the ego is actually the id. It's concerned with me, myself, and I. The superego is more doing what society says is right. It's more for other people. So that's the charity side, the doing good things for others. And the ego is the balance between the others. So we're not just doing everything we want to do or what's only good for other people that we risk hurting ourselves. So Erikson had 8 developmental stages. The first one happened in the first year of life, and it was defined as trust versus mistrust. So when you're a baby, you form attachments. Sort of like with Harlow's rhesus monkeys. In his study, he took baby rhesus monkeys and he gave them 2 surrogate mothers. One was covered in a soft terry cloth and one was covered in wire. But the wire one had food. But what Harlow observed was that the baby monkeys, would go to the one in the terry cloth because it was softer, it was more comforting, even despite the fact the other one had food. They would try to reach for it, but they would not let go of the soft terry cloth mother. This is the same with regular human babies. We need that attachment, that bonding with a mother that acts as a safe zone, because this sort of acts as a safe zone throughout our whole life. We can go through our whole life knowing, well, this is the person who's going to always be there for me. It's going to be okay because I have this person. And this helps us make social connections with other people throughout life. The second stage happens between 1 to 3 years old, and it's defined as autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, at about this stage when you're 1 year old, you're standing up and you can sort of move around, you can reach things, you can do more. And at this stage of life, it's where parents encourage children to start walking, to start reaching for things, trying to talk, the whole baby babbling thing, say dada, say dada. And as long as they're encouraged in this, they develop a sense of autonomy, a sense they can do these things themselves. If not, if they're berated, like if they continually wet the bed by the time they're 3, then they can develop feelings of shame or doubt, like, oh, you messed up on this, you did wrong on this, why don't you do this right? And that carries on to where later on they feel they can't do these things or they can't do anything right. Third stage is from 3 to 5 years, and it is initiative versus guilt. This is more building on learning to do things, but a bit more complex level. Your book has an example where there's a little girl building a puzzle, and she's having trouble with it. Her dad comes along and starts helping her. He starts with, well, let's get the corners first. And then, well, this corner's pink. Let's find pink puzzle pieces. And instead of building it for her, he sort of starts building up how she can figure out how to do it. This is initiative. It's showing her, you can do these things, I'll help you, and I'm not going to say you can't do it, which would bring on feelings of guilt. It's the continuation of, oh, you're not doing this right. Stop doing this. Sit there, be quiet, little child. And the next stage is from 6 to 12 years, and it's industry versus inferiority. About 6 years old, probably a little earlier, children go to kindergarten, and that's when they start learning how to socialize with people outside their family. So in kindergarten, it's not quite like preschool because you're actually learning and you're building on things. Like, you learn what the colors are, you learn how to count, and at this stage, you start building up your self-confidence. Like, when a child counts to 5, the teacher may congratulate them. It's like, yeah, you got to 5, that's great, now we can move on to the other ones. Or it can be the child continually messes up, like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and the feelings of inferiority can be the children laughing. It's like, you missed a number. So these feelings of inferiority can end up sticking with the child, so they may not want to try again, as opposed to industry, where they learn they can do these things and that it's all right if they mess up. The next stage is adolescence, which is 12 to 19 years. This one you've probably experienced recently as you're all high school graduates. And you know you've just gone through a period where you're trying to find yourself. You're trying to separate yourself from your family. You don't want to listen to music they listen to or do things they want to do. You want to do things your own way. You want to figure out, what do I like, or what separates me from everyone else. This is encouraged a lot in movies and everything, where you're finding yourself. The movies where you rebel against your family who wants you to do one thing but you want to do the other thing. It's identity versus role confusion. If you're able to form a good identity, a sense of who you are, that's something you can hold on to later in life, such as your morals or what you believe in. Like, well, I know stealing money is wrong, and that's a moral you can keep with you all throughout your life. That's something you can always attach to. Whereas role confusion is more the teenager who wants to be what everyone else thinks they're going to be. The peer pressure one. So everyone's wearing these kind of clothes, so I need to wear these kind of clothes so I'll fit in and I'll be cool and independent. Or everyone is smoking, so I'm going to smoke because that's cool, and I want to separate myself from my parents, so I'm not going to listen to what they say. And then as they grow up, they can start to realize that their personality is based purely on what other people want, and they don't have a sense of identity, which can later cause a mental breakdown. Alright, after adolescence, we have young adulthood, which is from 20 to about 34 years. That's intimacy versus isolation. This is the stage in your life where you've kind of become concerned with finding your significant other, or you want to hang out with friends. You form these social bonds. You want a sense of there's always going to be someone out there that's going to take care of you, or not take care of you, but feel for you, someone who cares about you. If you don't have this, you have the feeling of isolation. No one cares about me. I'm all alone in the world. No one understands. These kind of feelings. So this is sort of shows how all the other stages before it have been building on. Such as stage 1 was the trust, the feeling that there is someone there for you, the first attachment you make. At that stage, if you're able to form a healthy attachment, later on, you can continue to form these healthy attachments. And then after that is middle adulthood, which is 35 to 64, and that's generativity versus stagnation. This is sort of a reversal of stages 2 and 3, where instead of the child being taught how to do things, you now want to be the adult showing them how to do it. You want to sort of share your knowledge, because it's basically a feeling of contributing. It's like, I've gained all this knowledge that I know, and it's going to help better these people I care about, such as my children or my grandchildren or your friends. Sort of like once you've mastered high school or college and you start knowing more what you want to do, or you know a little more about your field, someone brings up a conversation, you can contribute to it because you know about this thing. And there's also that feeling of, they're going, oh, that's really great, that's interesting. Social bonds are very important in people. So the feeling of feeling accomplished helps us bond with people better. And the final one is late adulthood, which is 65 and on, when you're an older person. And this is defined as integrity versus despair. A really good example of this is Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. At the beginning of the movie, we know he's a very old man, and he's a very bitter old man. He hates everything, he's miserable, he's fully in despair. And actually, as we go through the book, back through everything, you can sort of see step by step how he becomes that way, sort of through Erikson's 8 stages. The first one, we don't really know about Scrooge as a baby. We do know his dad was abusive, so that might be what caused a lack of attachment. He may have had feelings of shame and doubt, or feelings of guilt. So he never formed good attachments except with his little sister, who is basically the only attachment he has, to the point where when she dies in childbirth, he hates her son because he can't form the right attachments. He's only attached to her because she's the only one nice to him, the only one who's there for him. And when she dies, he blames her child, which is not the kid's fault, but he never forms that close attachment with the boy. And then throughout life, he goes about middle adulthood, he goes through the stagnation. he's not really bonded with, or he's not trying to teach anyone. He's lost everyone he's cared about. He had a girlfriend and she's gone. And now he's all alone, and he's, late stage, he's in despair. But later on, after he meets the three ghosts, he gets the Christmas spirit, he gets better, and even in the movie, in the Jim Carrey movie, you can see at the beginning he's on his little cane, crouched over and angry, and then at the end of the movie, he's walking tall. I don't even think he has the cane anymore. So this shows how important integrity is, how being able to look back over your life and seeing how it's a good life helps you feel good. It's the social connection thing. The social connections are important because it's attached to our health. If we feel good about ourselves, if we feel attached to other people knowing they're there for us, we're able to be healthier. We're less likely to deal with stress because if we're stressed, we have those other people we've attached with to be there for us and be like, hey, I've been there, or hey, I'm at least here for you. So that's about all I have for right now. We're going to wrap this up right here. Your quiz is due this Monday at midnight, as is your assignment, so don't forget to start on those. All right, now we'll see y'all next week.